Well, since it's not yet time for me to leave, pick up my cousin, and then meet my dad in the theater in order to see Peppermint, let's try to get as many of the films that I saw last week done and over with. So, Operation Finale is our new historical drama / thriller. And this one stars both Oscar Isaac and Ben Kingsley. Oscar Isaac was in another historical movie. Was it last year or it might have been the year before? It was The Promise, or was it The Promise or just Promise? Anyway, I like that film a little bit better. Operation Finale is based off of a true story about these operatives that go undercover, go into Argentina to find this notorious SS officer, the supposed mastermind of the Holocaust. This Nazi is played by Ben Kingsley, and he's under a different name, hiding in Argentina with a bunch of other fellow Nazis, and our agents are sent in to determine if it's him, capture him, bring him back to Israel so that he can stand trial. But as you'd expect, the mission doesn't go quite the way they wanted to, and there is some delays and some added tension. For the most part, I definitely enjoyed Operation Finale. One of the key, really entertaining factors that this movie has going for it is I don't know too much about what happened after World War II, after the Holocaust, and the Nazis that fled. And this was quite an interesting story. It's a kind of story that I don't hear too often, and something that I didn't honestly know too much about because I'm not a big history buff. And telling a story that I didn't quite know that really happened helps add entertainment value for me, obviously. And so I really enjoyed the story. I found it engaging, I found it intriguing, and suspenseful at times. Especially since I don't know too much about this story, I didn't know how it would end and how it would play out, so it kept me on the edge of my seat at times. Another thing that this movie definitely has going for it, and one of the strongest incentives to see the movie, is the performances, especially from our main cast. I mean, I definitely wouldn't say this is a performance piece sort of movie. This isn't one of those movies that's like, oh, you have to see it just because of the performances. I mean, it's a bit of a thriller, it's a historical thing, it's a story that really happened, and it's one of those movies that's like, we're just tell it as it is sort of way. So it has a lot of other things going for it that would intrigue other types of audience, but the performances were very solid. Oscar Isaac plays our main character, so we see it through his eyes most of the time, and we see him on screen the most, and he kills it just as usual. There may be some movies that he's in that I don't like, but for the most part, I don't think I've seen a performance from him that I've disliked. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and it was incentive for me to definitely see it. Ben Kingsley is pretty damn awesome as well. I mean, he's an accomplished actor, of course, but he's very entertaining in this movie. Now, there were a few things about his performance that I may not have liked as much because it was a little kind of goofy for this intimidating villain. But I can see how he's very manipulative, and it helps add to his character, even some of the more goofier things in his performance. And other very noteworthy performances that I really enjoyed were... Sorry, I'm gonna most likely mispronounce the name, so I'm just gonna put it down below. But she was really good in this movie, and so was Nick Kroll. So the story was interesting, the performances were really great, and that's what you want in a more drama type film, because this is a little bit more drama than it is thriller. Even though it is about spies and trying to capture someone, and there's thriller elements to it, and things are very suspenseful, especially moments where you're like, oh God, are they going to get caught? Because there is several moments throughout this movie where they almost get caught. But they are things that I can't dive in too deeply because they are things that could spoil the film for you, especially if you don't know too much about this story, and if it is even still in theaters by the time I upload this review. But I do feel there are a few things in this movie that keep it from being a really great film, in my opinion. There was one person that I talked to that thought it was really great and was surprised about the score I'm about to give it, because they probably thought it was way too low, but there are a few things here and there in this movie that I don't quite like as much, and things that some other people might not like that well. Now, one of the things that I do like about the film, even though they are things I have to warn about because a lot of people don't like slower paced films, there is a moment, especially towards the middle of the film, where it does slow down because things go wrong. They can't escape as fast as they can because the word of his capture is figured out. They just don't know who took him yet. Yeah, because of one simple mistake that happens in the process of capturing our main villain, other people discover, hey, he's been kidnapped, we got to figure out who did it. And so they have to hold up in this house, in the safe house, for a lot longer than expected. And so the middle part of this movie is them staying in the safe house, trying to stay clear of anyone else, trying to keep him calm, and trying to get him to sign this contract, because one of the things of their mission is they can't force him just to go to Israel. He has to sign that, yeah, I will be tried, sort of thing. And to try to get this master manipulator to sign, well, it's pretty difficult. And so the middle part of the movie, it definitely does slow down, and so I think a lot of people might be bored by that portion of the film. I thought it was fine. Even though the score, especially during the intro, was pretty unique, I found it kind of annoying. Like, it didn't sound all that well to me. Maybe it's just me, though. And even though moments where they're about to get captured, or are they going to get captured or not, are pretty suspenseful, constantly I'm kind of reminded of a better film. I do like Argo better than this, and there were several times where it reminded me of the suspenseful things that happen in Argo. And maybe this will change upon second viewing, but upon seeing it in theaters, I thought that the cinematography was pretty bland and average at best. Not to say that it's bad, it just feels like there's kind of no personality to it, in the same sense where it's one of those movies where it's like, let's just stick to the facts and be a factual type movie, which usually consists of being a much slower paced film, which sometimes has the camera work just be standard, but it did kind of make it a little bit bland to watch visually. And yes, this sounds pretty nitpicky, but those are things that I didn't enjoy that much seeing this film, and were just enough to bring it down to a lower score. And so ultimately, I'm going to have to give Operation Finale 3 stars. I definitely still liked it, and I enjoyed the story and performances. Those things were very strong, but everything else was sort of bland and kind of average, like your typical historical movie. So, did you see Operation Finale? What'd you think about it? Go ahead and comment below. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and check out my movie reviews and countdowns of other years, of this year, whatever you'd like. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.